What kind of a struggling artist are you?
She's a girl of so many instincts.
Cameras were there by the dozen.
Is a book or an author?
Here they are at Brown's Chinese Theatre in Hollywood.
Hello Muggles, my name is Ashlee Stormo. Welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, on Wednesdays I post videos about books and writing, and on Sundays I just do little whatever I feel like. A lot of times it's just stuff about my life, and then I also talk about movies here and there. Today I'm going to be doing a book review of this book, The Bette Davis Club, written by Jane Lauder. Read this book, make it a movie, and let me intern for you for like the screenwriting process. Please, please, please. I promise if you do, I will pay and I will go see it in the theater and I'll buy popcorn and it'll be a grand old time. It's so cinematic, and if it's not made into a movie, someday I want to make it into a movie because it's just that good. Jane Lauder was a writer who is based in Seattle, Washington, which is really close to where I live. And there's a little letter before the story starts that her daughter wrote, and it just talks about how Jane always wanted to write a book. She was a writer, and that Jane ended up getting sick, and so she wanted to finish this book and publish it before before her time was up, before she passed. And she was able to do that because of Amazon publishing, which is so cool. And then after she did pass, Lake Union ended up publishing it. So I think that's really cool in and of itself. That really drew me into wanting, I went in and I was like, I need to like this story because this is such a cool real life story about how it came to be made into an actual book. It's hilarious. It's got a ton of old Hollywood references and Hollywood in general references. So if you're into that kind of thing, you should definitely read it. It's very funny and the characters are developed really well, and it's very twisty and turvy, and I didn't expect a lot of what happened. Some of it I wasn't surprised by, but a lot of it I was surprised by. A madcap chase leads Margot right back to herself. The morning of her niece's wedding, Margot just drinks a double martini and contemplates the many mistakes she's made in her 50-odd years of life. Spending 3 decades in love with a wonderful but unattainable man is pretty high up on her list of missteps, as is a long line of unsuccessful affairs, accompanied by a seemingly endless supply of delicious cocktails. When the young bride flees, taking with her a family heirloom and leaving behind 600 bewildered guests, her mother offers Margot 50 grand to retrieve her spoiled brat of a daughter and the invaluable property she stole. So together with the bride's jilted and justifiably crabby fiancé, Tully, Margot sets out in a borrowed 1955 red MG, which was her father's, on a cross-country chase. From acclaimed humor writer Jane Lauder comes this madcap laugh-out-loud adventure, the Bette Davis Club. Because she's strapped for cash, Margot accepts, and with the groom, Tully, they go on this road trip across America to find Georgia and kind of drag her back. And the tagline to this book is very appropriate. A madcap chase leads Margot right back to herself. I honestly though, like the cover of this book is genius. It's beautiful. Anyways, this really matches with the book because what Georgia has done by running away actually reflects something that Margot herself has been through. And I'm not going to say that in this non-spoilery part. Obviously, because this is a road trip book, she has to come to some terms with her own past, and she figures some stuff out, and she sorts through, you know, who she is, who she wants to be, that kind of thing. So if you love old movies and if you love everything road trips, you should read this book. Now I'm going to give some of my thoughts and reactions to some of the plot twists that happened in this book. So please, 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 please go read it. It deserves to be read. I've never heard anyone review this on BookTube. Okay, so the fact that Margot was actually in love with Finn in the past, I thought that was a very intriguing plot twist and plot point. Basically, if you're in the Bette Davis Club, and you should know because you've read this, right? And you're not spoiling yourself. Basically, if you're in the Bette Davis Club, it's because you are married to a gay man. And Margot was completely in love with Finn, but she did end up running away and not doing that to herself, because even though she loved Finn, it wasn't worth it to her to be in like not a loveless relationship, but not like a romantic relationship or marriage, which, like, good on her. I also enjoyed that she ended up with Tully and that she realized that she was an alcoholic. I was not expecting that, but looking back after they revealed that, yeah, she was. All of the characters had a purpose to be in the storyline, and I think that's really important. I'm going to read you some of my favorite lines or passages, just because I'm a writer and I like to learn from how other writers work, and I think that Jane did a wonderful job of writing really humorous lines, just like really snappy. I guess they weren't just funny, but they really characterized the characters well. Characterized the characters. Well, I've lived a long and sometimes a sinful life, and I can recognize cocaine when I see it. It's funny, but when Charlotte was a teenager, Daddy nicknamed her Cokie because she drank so much soda. Now I realize our father wasn't being playful, he was foretelling her future. I laughed out loud when I read that. Okay, so this is my absolute favorite chunk from the book. I'm also obsessed with Marilyn Monroe, so that should be duly noted. Margot just left a secondhand store of really expensive things because they were all owned by celebrities from the golden era. And she calls the shop owner Mommy Dearest because the shop is called Mommy Dearest. And he wants her to come back and spend more money because she has just spent an offensive amount of money. Halfway down the block, we can still hear Mommy Dearest calling. There's so much more. So many things. I have Marilyn Monroe's panties. Did you know that? I'm the only man in town who can show you the undergarments of Miss Marilyn Monroe. And I just cackled. Margot says, I'm getting cold feet. Dottie clasped her hands together. I prayed this would happen, she said, and God knows I'm an atheist. And I just think that these lines encapsulate their characters so well. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I will be releasing another book-related video next Wednesday. Please make this a movie, please. I also hope the microphone has worked. This is a new microphone. I might have to refilm. Hopefully not, because I bathed today just to do this.